So that was red flag number one. But it definitely doesn't stop there. ADHD realtor San Diego reached out to me about case 001, the Section 8 tenant. What she told me was a web already. It started out with a tenant who moved in December of 2025. She was approved through Section 8 in October. On the day that she was approved, sent like 61 text messages to the property manager. So that was red flag number one, but it definitely doesn't stop there. As we began to look, we found that there are 31 aliases, 61 court cases, including fraud, passport fraud, evictions, and most recently, a case of harm or death to an elder or dependent adult. This is a wild one. Buckle up. Welcome to Forensic Real Estate, where ADHD Realtor San Diego finds the cases and does the preliminary background research, tosses it over to me at Feral America. I do the investigative research, and then we come back together to analyze what we found and explore avenues for further investigation.
Hi, Sue.
Hi. Wait, should I call you Christina?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Call me Christina because
Okay.
ADHD Realtor is just my handle, and I'd like people to know me as Christina.
Okay. Hi,
Okay,
Christina.
so hi, hello. It's great to finally meet you.
I know, face to face for the first time. Yeah.
I know. I'm really, really excited. And just how quickly I gave you the information and like we seem to really align with each other and how fast you started coming forward with some details. I've been really looking forward to this call to find out like what you've uncovered just from the little bit that I've shared with you.
It's been a wormhole, really. I mean, it's not even like a web. It's been pretty interesting because usually when I get a name, I pop it into the background checker and, it'll show if there's a criminal history or aliases, that kind of thing. The background check was literally just the surface when it came to this particular case. So I'm still really going down that particular rabbit hole with the tenant right now. But part of the reason it's taking so long is that I've had to run multiple background checks. So in looking in the background check, I'll come across a case file number if there's been some sort of a court case. There's not a link to it. Sometimes it'll give more information, but there's not like a link to the actual thing. So then I go into wherever that happens. So in this case, like San Diego. And I'll go to the San Diego courts and you can do a case search by name, by case number. So I tried the case number first. That doesn't always match. So I put in the name and a whole bunch came up. In the first court case that I opened up, it had the name that I had searched and then also known as, and it listed like 3 other names. And so then I was like, well, okay, these are other names I need to search now. So it went from just a preliminary background search to now I have to do a full internet search with quotes around all of these different names. That led to a couple of different like consumer report type websites where people write in to talk about scams that they've encountered. And there are 2 threads that I've come across so far on different sites that go back decades, that go back in the first one I found, I think was 2009, maybe even earlier, of people that were saying that she was calling saying that she was offering legal support in exchange for various things, for labor, for this, for that. And then they would do the labor and never get the legal support, or she would ghost them. And they all had very similar stories. One of the threads, a moderator wrote on it, this thread has been closed due to retaliation or something like that. Like there like too many people commenting on it. They thought it was just like people trying to trash this person. But that's how many people have had experiences with the tenant.
Oh my gosh. So we knew that there had been multiple aliases. We knew that she had a long history of doing this, but obviously it's more extensive and longer than we even realized.
And it seems like every document that I follow, I find another alias. So I think I'm up to at least 10 now,
Are you serious?
and two that have like legit kind of background checks. It's interesting. Let me see if I can pull this up really quick. But I just want to show what the timeline looks like on background check on the ones that I use at least. Let's see.
That's wild. People thought that this was fake. A lot of people who've been watching the story didn't think that any of this was real. So the fact that I now have you working with me as a partner to bring legitimacy to what I've been experiencing and what other people have been experiencing is huge. Like I have chills running through my whole body right now. I'm so excited.
Right. All right. So let me share. This is the timeline for one of the aliases. And normally a timeline on a background check. Here, let me get over and share the screen. Okay. So usually when we look at a timeline on a background check, it'll show like all of their family history. Like it'll go back into like the, 1900s, birth of parent, birth of sibling, and then it'll show their birth. For this particular alias, there's no birth that's shown at all. The first time it shows up is in 1998 as a
Oh my
possible
God.
location. And then we have we have an employer record and then another employer record. And then a possible location. And that's it for this particular alias. But this is the alias, one of the aliases that shows up in court files.
I thought this was her original name, but now you're telling me it's not her
It's
original name.
not. So I believe, and again, I will make sure to blur out the names on these.
Yeah.
I believe this to be her original, like her real name, because this is the one that goes way back. So not the name that we see at the top, because this is an alias. Again, you guys can't see it, but the alias that's listed at the top is the name that she currently goes by.
Yes.
Um,
So she
but
changed it on her birth records, I think.
yeah, but I don't, that doesn't show up in this timeline anywhere. I don't see where the name was
Interesting.
changed. But at the top of the, again, you guys can't see this because it's blurred out, but this is the name that I believe is the real name because that is the name on the trust that she uses
Oh,
to
she
funnel
does
money
have a
through.
trust. She does have a trust.
And it's in the name that's listed as the primary name on the background check.
So she had stated that she started a trust like in, I don't know, what was it, like 1998 or something?
Mm-hmm.
And she mentioned just the other day that all of the money she is making from selling her animals, she said, don't worry, I'm going to put it in a trust. And I was, okay, so this is starting, we're painting a picture here. This is starting to make sense.
Right. But this timeline also doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. There's no parents on here, there's no siblings. There's just a birth record. There's no social security number being issued that will usually show up on here. So born in 1960 and then employed in 2001. And then we get into some lawsuits. So here is a judgment from San Diego. This is basically a $10,000 lien. Um, and then we've got some locations jumping around, but that's it on here. So it's interesting that there's a court record on this one, even though it's not her real name.
So if
And I
there's
can't
no,
find a timeline for this name here.
so I'm very curious. I do have a question. If
Yes.
there's no social security number with that name, is that what you're stating? There's no social security number with that name?
I'm gonna need
Or
to
we're
look
not,
into that. Let me write that
because
down in my
I would be
notes.
curious how Section 8 approved her under that name. So I would be curious to see if her social security number was changed to that name.
Yes.
None of the lease documents that Section 8 provided included her birthday or her social security number.
Birth date. That's another thing we want to find. So born in 1960. That seems to be
Mhm.
pretty consistent in what I've seen.
Okay.
If what was that right?
I'm gonna write down my questions so that like maybe we can dig a little deeper into some of that.
Right? I know that's what it seems like literally everything I find, it just leads to more questions, which is really what investigation is.
Yeah.
Um, if you were a little kid that was like, why? Why? This is a job
Yeah.
for you.
That's what it's like. Why?
So let's see. Does this one show a criminal record? Yes. Okay. So this was the other thing that blew my mind. And again, I don't know in what year she qualified for Section 8 housing. Was it in 2025 when she?
It was in 2025. Yeah.
So that's very interesting because in 2024, or sorry, in 2020, March 18th, 2020, there's a harm slash death of elder or dependent adults. And so I'm still looking into this case to see what details I can find on this, but that seems pretty major. And
Yeah.
also through this research, I found that she has a license through IHSS, I think it is, in order to she has a couple different things that she's like listed as being licensed to do, but part of it is to, um, I think, provide caregivers a place to, do their caregiving. Um,
My goodness. Okay.
and
And you have
the
a
address,
license. She has a license number for that?
yes, so there's a license number for that, and I have it. I'm looking into that to see if I can find like if it's legit, how she got that number. Um, especially given this background
Okay.
that
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
like elder
And when it
abuse
was
slash
issued,
death.
what
Right.
maybe that's how
Uh,
she knows how to work that IHSS system if she was a caregiver through it.
and the address listed on the for that business is
Hmm.
the rental address.
Okay, that's the business that we suspected. So she's licensed, and we need to figure out what that licensing is and how she got approved for it with this background.
Right.
My
So I
God.
have that number, and that's one of the things I'm going to be looking into this week. That's not even like I haven't even got into the most mind blowing stuff that I found yet.
Okay, I'm listening. Okay.
So one of the caregivers who was working, so for any background for, I'm sure we've gone over it a little bit, but so the tenant is also listed as disabled and needing a caregiver and is receiving, that's being paid for by Section 8 or by Aisha.
So she has two, and I'm going to share in a text message. She just sent me text about two more programs that she qualifies for. One is going to pay 500 hours towards caregiving. And that's a totally different thing we'll get into because now there's more information I need your help with about that. And so, yeah, she has Blue Shield, which is an insurance company, health insurance company, and she has IHFS, which is in-home support services. So those are designed to help elderly people get care and stay in their home rather than having to be moved to a facility. So that's the purpose of the program.
Right. So she is signed up as a recipient of that program, but also as a basically distributor, sort of, from what I can understand, of the people who work within that program. So one of the people who was working for her, um, they called he had told a neighbor that he was being drugged. He was told that
Yeah.
this was a sober living facility
Yes.
and showed up and it's essentially a meth house. And
And he was on
um,
parole, according to the neighbor. This is what he said. Yeah. I mean,
which is true
huh.
because I did his background check as well.
Okay.
And so when she called the police on him, like while he was high and most likely drugged, allegedly, the police took him into custody and he passed out and ended up dying in police custody. So now there's an
Yeah.
open investigation into it. So that is all part of the story that you've already told before, I believe.
Yeah.
But what I found in doing his background check was that he does indeed have, quite a long criminal history spread throughout the country. But the thing that kind of gave me the ick on this one was looking at in the background check, they list out like social media, accounts and things like that. So there weren't any like Snapchat or Instagram, anything like that. There was one website and there were like 5 different accounts for it. And I don't think I can even say what it is. Like, I won't say what the website is, but let's just say it has to do with humans and animals being together. So knowing that that was a proclivity or interest of this particular caregiver and that the tenant is breeding animals there, I just don't know if there's a whole other element to this debauchery.
Well, so it's interesting that you say that because there are pigs and there are goats, baby pigs, baby goats. And I do know that according to a new caregiver that came forward, there are some of the adult pigs and goats who that are buried on the property. I had her remove one of them, but according to this guy, there's at least 3 dead pigs and possibly another dead goat. I don't know what they've passed away from. So I had no idea, but he did have access to young animals. So whether or not he took action in that manner, I have no idea.
Yeah, and I am not accusing him of that at all. It's just that that was something that showed
Very
up in the background check. And I know if I worked for the FBI or, some institution, that would be something that would raise big red flags for me. And, want me to look a little more into it. But I feel like
yeah,
since his case is currently active with the police and I've done some stuff on him, he's not the primary focus of this. Maybe what happened to
yeah,
him potentially, but I'm still directing my focus on the tenant, on her various aliases and court cases and media appearances. But
yeah.
in
Well,
addition to some of the other cases that we're working on, but I still am diving into a few things.
I do have another caregiver that I'm going to send you his information. So one of the things that happened was I sent the tenant about a week ago an email requesting, that she provide information for her caregivers so that I have documentation of them. And of course, she flipped her shit about it, that I was violating HIPAA and privacy laws, and she's coming after me, and her caregivers were pissed off. Well, she's changed her tune all of a sudden the last few days. So she said that she's providing information for every person that's working for her. And the one that I'm very curious about, because of course some of these names are very common. Unless we have a birthday, we can't really narrow it down. It looks like I'm going to get that information. The person I'm very interested in is a gentleman who's working there that is her right-hand man. And according to the caregiver who passed away, the guy who was making meth on the property and selling meth on the property. I would be very interested to see if he has any sort of background in this area at all. That would be something that could be provided. And I have more caregivers who have come forward with obviously their own accounts of what's been going on since January. She moved in December. So this case is going to be ongoing for a while, while we go through this.
Now, is there anything in her lease that says that she cannot operate a business on the property?
Yeah. So one of the things is obviously putting together all the facts to present to different departments. We have no idea what's going to happen with this homicide investigation, but there are clearly criminal activities possibly going on in the background, and the proper departments need to be notified, and they can't do anything without evidence. So that's part of this whole situation is compiling these facts and presenting them wherever we need to present them. So she is not, according to the rules and regulations for the community, because there is a small HOA, you are not allowed to operate a business outside of the property. And since she's already disclosed in text messages that the income she earns is paid into a trust, you have to qualify for Section 8. I know for a fact on it, you have to document all income, including any businesses that you own. So that's going to be very, very important to pass on to the proper authorities or departments that need that information.
Right. Well, we'll have to touch base offline to figure out the names and next steps in this, but it's really one of these things that I feel like I can be doing this full time and still not get to the bottom of everything in, a week. So this is definitely one of those, like you said, ongoing things. I'm not super familiar with the like laws and statutes of the San Diego area. So that's something I'm going to be working on as well, is just familiarizing myself with that. I was a paralegal for 3 years, so I'm used to reading and writing legal mumbo jumbo. I think that's part of the reason that I was so drawn to this like investigative side of things, because it's like a good meshing of all of the different roles that I've had in my life. I used to be a financial manager, like a wealth manager, and then I was a paralegal and then an educator for 20 years. So it's like all of the things kind of meshing together into this something I'm really passionate about and that I can like approach from a lot of different ways given my own background. So, and then just my own like ADHD hyper focus, like, yes,
And
project.
and the justice sensitivity. That
Yes.
was something I definitely connected with you on, is your work ethic and how you treat people and how you do the world is the same way that I do. So I really felt that connection with you. I'm really excited to work this with you and bring some validity to the story that this is actually happening. This is really
Right.
ongoing. And if people want to know, new stuff's coming out every day and they should follow because it's probably going to get pretty wild.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to put like any detailed documentation, behind a paywall on Substack. We'll keep all of the stories, available to everybody, but just for, security's sake and things like that, because these are ongoing cases, things will be redacted, names and identifying locations and things like that. But again, so that you can see that this is all legit, this is all real. I know one of my friends has been following you for a while. And I was talking to her the other day and she was like, oh my God, her stories are so crazy. There's no way they're true. And I was like, well, let me tell you what I found out about this
Yes,
one.
they are.
And so, yeah. And that's kind of how I got into this whole thing in the first place. Was there was a story that just seemed too wild to be true. And I was like, there are definitely aspects of that story that I can't verify, but there are a lot of aspects that I can. So I just started diving in and that's how I got here. So I'm so glad that we're teaming up and I look forward to this and on a personal level too, in that I have parents that are 88 and 82 and the last time I was up visiting them, it was just like every 5 minutes a phone call that was some sort of thing trying to scam them out of their money. And so things that we can do that can help raise awareness of the types of scams that people are running and what they can do to prevent them, how to recognize them. And it's all of those things together, education, social justice, all of it. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Me too. Thank you, Sue. So we're going to touch base. I'll send you more information and then we'll keep doing these updates and people should just stay tuned.